Hello, dear Kia family members. First of all, on behalf of Kia management, I would like to thank you for your continued effort for the globalization of Kia Motors with quality after-sales activities. This videotape contains engine, automatic transaxle, electrical, the new model Picanto comes with the Epsilon engine, 1.0 liter and 1.1 liter. Let's look at the engine specification of the Picanto first. The total displacement amount is 1.0 liters and 1.1 liters. The compression ratio is 10.5 to 1. And the intake and exhaust valve driving device has MLA, so that the valve clearance should be adjusted periodically. After warming up, the clearance of intake valve is 0.25 plus or minus 0.03 millimeters. That of exhaust valve is adjusted to 0.3 plus or minus 0.03 millimeters. The idling speed is 750 plus or minus 100 RPM without any load, which is about 150 RPM lower than that of Visto. The ignition timing is 5 plus or minus 2 degrees at VTDC. Although the Visto uses distributor type ignition system, the Picanto uses DLI type. In the fuel injection system, the return type fuel system is changed to RLFS type, which minimizes the vaporized gas in the fuel tank. Furthermore, the engine EMS is adopted with the Bosch M7 EMS, the most advanced device. Next, the general for the engine of Picanto. The Picanto uses the SOHC type valve system, installing one camshaft on the cylinder head. The intake valves are 2 per 1 cylinder, so the total number of valves are 3 per cylinder. Next, the timing belt installation diagram. Inlet control type cooling system is used. The inlet control type is that the thermostat is installed at the inlet port of the cooling water. Comparing with the outlet control type, it has greater heat efficiency and less change in the temperature. Instead of coolant temperature gauge on cluster, Picanto has 2 indication lamp, blue and red. When the coolant temperature is low, the blue lamp will illuminate. When the coolant is hot, red lamp turns on. Otherwise, in the normal state, the temperature indication lamp becomes off. Compared with the Visto, the Picanto comes with the RLFS type system. The RLFS system has no return line by which the remained amount of fuel after fuel injection returns back to the fuel tank. The fuel tank and the pillar pipe are made of plastic material, and the capacity of the fuel tank is 35 liters. Next, I will explain about the main inputs. MAP sensor is installed at the surge tank to detect the air amount intake to the engine combustion chamber. Crankshaft position sensor is detecting the engine rotation speed and indicating the position of piston. Camshaft position sensor is detecting the first and fourth engine top dead center with crankshaft position sensor. Engine coolant temperature sensor signals the engine warm-up status to both ECM and cluster. Intake air temperature sensor is measuring the temperature of the air inhaled, and it is assembled with MAP sensor. 2 zirconia type oxygen sensors are installed upstream and downstream. Throttle position sensor is indicating the driver's acceleration intention to ECM. Knocking sensor is detecting the knocking status to control the ignition timing. Finally, we will study the current data through the HiScan Pro. For the current data of Picanto, it has 50 more data indicated. There are 3 output data related to the throttle position sensor. Among them, the adaptation of the throttle position sensor is indicated in %, the variations of the throttle position sensor at idling status. The fuel cut status means that the engine ECU does not operate the injector under reasonable condition. The fuel pump relay and the main relay show their operation status in on-off. The oxygen sensor at the rear of catalyst reacts slower than the oxygen sensor at the front of catalyst. The feedback control status for the AF ratio is indicated in % value, and the range is 75% to 125%. Next, I will explain about the components of the automatic transaxle and control system installed in the Picanto. In this section of automatic transaxle, specification, control system will be introduced. The Picanto adopts the front-wheel drive type 4-speed electronic control automatic transaxle made by Jatco. The model is the FRA. Especially, it is equipped with the 1.1 liter only. Like Hyvec, 2 pair of simple planetary gear are used, and the CAN communication is applied to make fast responsibility and smooth shift feeling. The oil is ESSO JWS 3314, and special water cooling type oil cooler is installed at the exterior of the transaxle case. For the operation elements in each range and gear, there are 3 clutches, 2 brakes, and a one-way clutch. 3 clutches include the high clutch, the low clutch, and the reverse clutch. 2 brakes include the low and reverse brake, and 2 to 4 brake. The low clutch is a multiple disc type clutch operating at all driving condition except in 4th gear. The high clutch is operated at high speeds, which are 3rd gear and 4th gear. These are located inside the reverse clutch retainer. The reverse clutch is operated when driving in reverse gear. It comprises 2 discs. The 2 to 4 brake, as the band type, is operated at the 2nd gear and 4th gear. The band gap can be adjusted by rotating the nut at the servo side. The low and reverse brake is multiple disc type brake operated at L range, 1st gear and reverse gear. Next, we will study the electronic control system. For the input elements, there are the inhibitor switch, turbine speed sensor, vehicle speed sensor, ATF temperature sensor, overdrive off switch, brake switch, TPS, engine speed, and torque reduction signal. The inhibitor switch is located at the transaxle case, and the structure is the rotary type. It detects the position of the selector lever. When the range signal is not giving input, it will control the range before the malfunction is occurred. When the multiple signals are giving input, the control is performed according to the priority of D, N, P, R, 2, L, range, and the damper clutch control is inhibited. The turbine speed sensor installed at side cover detects the alternating waves by inductive method and the rotation speed of the high clutch sleeve. When it malfunctions, influence is to the damper clutch operation, and then line pressure is controlled by the pressure at the wide open throttle. The vehicle speed sensor, as the Hall type, shows the digital waves. It is installed at the transaxle case to detect the rotation speed of the output side and performs the shift control with the TPS sensor signal. When it malfunctions at D range, it is fixed with the third gear, and it is fixed to second gear at 2 range, and it is fixed to first gear at L range. The oil temperature sensor is installed in the valve body as the NTC type. Internal resistance should measure 2.5 kilo ohms at 20 degrees Celsius, 0.82 kilo ohms at 50 degrees Celsius, and 0.325 kilo ohms at 80 degrees Celsius. When the oil temperature is lower than 20 degrees Celsius, the damper clutch and fourth gear driving are inhibited. When the oil temperature sensor malfunctions, it will be controlled by 80 degrees Celsius. The brake switch is installed at the upper side of the brake pedal. It is a push-return type. The OD off switch is installed at the lower portion of the knob switch of the shift lever. When the switch is on, the operating lamp is turned on at the cluster. At that time, the fourth gear is inhibited, so it will be used for sudden acceleration or light engine brake function. Here we look for input elements through CAN. The data such as TPS signal, engine RPM signal, engine torque signal, air conditioning switch operation signal are transmitted from TCM to ECM through the CAN communication line. If the CAN high line is grounded, shorted or opened, then the CAN bus is cut so the line pressure is controlled by wide open throttle. The damper clutch operation is inhibited. When an error related with the CAN is occurred, the torque reduction control is inhibited. The TCM is installed at the side of blower unit and a round of engine ECM. Receiving signals from each sensor and switch, it controls the engine torque through CAN communication with the solenoid. The output elements from TCM are the solenoid valve, OD off lamp, self-diagnosis, function, and so on. At first, explain the solenoid valve. The line pressure solenoid valve is called PCSV. It is 2.9 ohms at room temperature and is performed by duty control. The line pressure is changed according to the load of engine to prevent the clutch and brake from slipping, and controls the oil pressure not to make shift shocks while shifting. Next, I will explain about the shift solenoid valve. The internal resistance should be 25 ohms at room temperature. There are 2 shift solenoid valves which perform on-off control. In first gear, both are on. In second gear, one is off, the other is on. In third gear, both are off. In fourth gear, first one is on, the other is off. The lock-up solenoid is installed at the valve body. It controls the damper clutch. The resistance should be 13 ohms at room temperature. It uses duty control method. Next, I will explain about the hydraulic pressure checking. This is the oil pressure port of the reverse clutch and high clutch, and the apply side port of the 2 to 4 brake. You can check the line pressure at the port located nearby oil pan and torque converter housing. In case of idle speed in D range is 3.5 kilogram force per square centimeter. In R range, the standard valve is 4.5 kilogram force per square centimeter. Under the stall condition in D range, the oil pressure is 12.5 kilogram force per square centimeter. In our range, the pressure is 15.9 kilogram force per square centimeter. At first, we will examine the control function and operation condition of the ETAX. As you see, the ETAX is installed at the right side of the column shaft. Inside the ETAX, there are burglar horn relay and hazard lamp relay. The ETAX and the receiver are formed as one body, so the antenna of the receiver is installed inside of the ETAX. Let's examine what functions are applied to the ETAX of the Picanto. First, there are seatbelt warning function, tail lamp auto cut function, the central door lock unlock function, key operated warning function, keyless entry function, anti-theft function, key remind function, and crash door unlock function. Now I will explain the operating condition of anti-theft function. When the lock switch of the remote controller is pressed, the hazard lamp will blink one time for 1 second. This is that the indicating signal is entering into the anti-theft mode. The input-output conditions for anti-theft in ETAX are as follows. For the input element, the lock-unlock signals of all doors are input at first. Next, the signals of all door switches, hood and tailgate switch, are received. And then if the lock-unlock signal from the transmitter is received, then the ETAX controls the door lock-unlock relay and performs the controls for the arm and disarm, horn output control, and hazard lamp control. At last, it performs the engine start inhibit control. Now, let's take a look at the location of the major electrical parts. This component is the main fuse box. There are fog lamp relay, air conditioner relay, cooling fan low relay, horn relay, start relay, cooling fan high relay, and tail lamp relay. Next, as you see, the sub-fuse box is installed in the lower crush pad of the driver's side. Here, the power window relay, the blower relay, the flash unit, the fuel pump relay, and rear defogger relay are installed. Then, this is the ICM installed behind of the audio. Inside of the ICM, the door lock unlock relay and anti-theft relay are installed. Kia Motors has been doing its best to promote effective after-service, and we will continue to do our best to meet your after-service needs by providing various training materials. Kia will make an effort continuously to produce the best in class in terms of quality, design, and performance.